We're back! It's been a while. I've been away for most of November, having a turkey holiday as well as a few weeks off leading up to that. You know, it takes a long time to get ready for that Thanksgiving dinner here in the States. But yes, we're live again. We had some reruns. I hope you enjoyed those. And now we are back with the last few live shows of our season, and we will wrap it up just before the end of the year with one holiday show. And then we're going to take our normal break between our seasons. And then we'll be back with Season 4 next year. So we are coming down to it now. So it's going to be a fun one. I'm glad to be back in the seat for a few more episodes. Today's episode is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking with a product expert over at a restream and content aggregation service you might have heard of called BoxCast. They know a lot about what are the disadvantages and what are the advantages of social streaming versus going with an all-in-one sort of dedicated service provider. So we're going to get into that. We'll talk about a little bit of what you need to know if you're considering looking at a dedicated provider for your streams. This is something we get asked about a lot here on the show. And I'm excited to talk to someone who knows quite a bit about this and is actually working on a product that is designed to specifically solve some of the problems that you guys may face out there every day as streamers to Facebook and YouTube and so forth. So we'll get into it. I'll be right back after the opening credits of the show. Sit back, relax. You're watching Wirecast Live, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to another episode of Wirecast Live. I'm your host, Andrew Haley, and each week here on the show, 2:30 p.m. Pacific time on Thursdays, you can find us here on Facebook, YouTube, and occasionally Periscope, multiple destinations. We've been talking with a number of product experts over the years. We bring on guests. We talk about topics related to live streaming, building your business around live video and live video production, all the ins and outs. We try to bring on people who know more than we do about specific topics. And today's show is no exception. We're going to be talking about dedicated live streaming service providers versus those free social sites you may have heard of like Facebook and YouTube. What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages of choosing one or the other, or choosing a service provider that can help you solve some issues? And maybe you don't have to sacrifice the advantages of social streaming. So we'll get into it. I'm excited to have them on the show. But before we bring on our guest for today, I want to talk with you guys a little bit about what's coming up in the end of the year. So today is Thursday, November 29th, 2018. If you're watching this on replay, thank you. You can find all the replays, and please leave a comment, let us know. But you can find all the replays on YouTube or Facebook of our past episodes. Feel free if you want to get notified. We also have a handy email list. I recommend this because we actually email you a link to the show when the show is about to go live. We also tell you about the upcoming guests and topics that we're going to be covering for that week. So it's a great way to just keep in touch, pencil your calendars in, and if there's a topic or a guest you're particularly interested in, it's a great way to know ahead of time. So go to telestream.net/wirecastlive to sign up for the email list. We also occasionally do prizes and giveaways and promotions for certain things. We don't spam you. We just kind of let you know about stuff related to the show and what we're doing. And speaking of the show, coming up in the next few weeks, we have actually only 3 episodes left in the 2018 season. I can't believe this year is almost over, but it is. And so next week, we are going to be possibly talking with a guest who we've had on the show before. We're just confirming whether or not they're available, but Mr. Dave Basolto from Iographer. So stay tuned. We'll let you know if he's available to come on the show. If not, we will have some other awesome guests as well, but I'd be really keen to talk with Dave and see what he's been up to. They've been doing some cool stuff over at Iographer, and I think it may be time to check in with them. Following that, we will be talking with Jimmy Young from the Broadcast Coaching, and basically he has a bunch of classes and services that he can help you become a better broadcaster. He is an expert in vocal presentation, how to present yourself on camera, how to be a great sports announcer. He can do it all, and he actually has some really good tips for you guys. And I've been wanting to get him on the show for a while. Some of you who've been watching for a long time may know that this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, because I think it is definitely tricky to get on camera and to do it well. And there's actually a science and a practice that you can study to become better. So Jimmy would be the man to talk to. We'll be grabbing him and bringing him on the show on the 13th of December, that Thursday. And then the final show of the season, that's it, is our holiday special show. That will be on the 20th of December. So definitely you'll want to tune in for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. We have a lot of stuff planned. Deborah Lee and I have been literally cooking up some plans in the back room here for that show. And I think it'll be a good one. So that's our calendar for the next 3 weeks. And as I said, if you miss us, you can always go check out the archives on YouTube or Facebook. And that's the end of my announcements for this week's show. So let me just give a couple shout outs for folks who are joining us. Maybe haven't seen you in a little while. Like I said, I'm happy to be back. But out here watching us now, we have Mr. Steven, who says Mwangi, who says he loves Wirecast. Thank you very much for the shout out there. Rob Munzing in the house. Good to see you, Rob. Hope you got that scheduled. That all worked out. Rob is actually testing out BoxCast with Wirecast. So that's something we'll be talking about on the show a little bit today. Deb, great to see you as always. Welcome. Over on YouTube, I see Mr. Greg K as usual. Nice to see you there, Greg. And Epic Radio Show, good to see you as well. Nima Radio TV. Is it possible to have a translation of the show? I wish I could translate in Italian. I don't speak Italian. I don't have a translation of Italian available at the moment. But if one becomes available, I'll let you know. But either way, thanks for tuning in and welcome. And one more shout out to John from Scotland. John, thanks for joining us. And Jim Wild as well from the UK. So global audience here. We've got Italy in the house. We've got UK, Scotland. We have Australia, a bunch of people all over the globe. So thanks for tuning in, you guys. And without further ado, I would like to introduce our guest for today. He is the product manager over at BoxCast, which is a streaming service and organization. I was actually on a panel with them at NAB this year. It was a fun panel, and it was very clear that the founder of the company knew what he was doing. He spoke very intelligently about the need for services that meet the customer's needs for versatility, for recording and streaming, low cost and effective, but also give you the ability and total control over your own content. And that is a mission that I think BoxCast is doing and performing and executing on really well. And I'm very excited to introduce Mr. John Wetzel, the product manager for BoxCast, on the show today, joining us live from Cleveland, Ohio. John, are you there? Yeah, so tell us a little bit about BoxCast and when it got started, and sort of give people some context here. If they're not familiar with BoxCast, like Rob, who's in the audience now, maybe give them a little bit of a high overview of what it is and what you guys do.
We're an end-to-end streaming service. So when we first started, we started with a hardware encoder. So people that are using, a camera right into a hardware encoder called the BoxCaster. That's where we started. And then from there, we enabled people to be able to stream on to their website and with an embedded player. So we allow people to take it end to end.
That's really cool. And how long have you guys been doing that exactly again?
Since 2013, yeah.
Since 2013. So kind of grew up as the streaming sort of space was really blowing up about then. That was actually right about the time I joined Telestream. And I remember that, at the time, there weren't too many sort of custom dedicated services out there that could do everything. I mean, you really had like live stream, Ustream. There wasn't much else out there that customers could use. And so now BoxCast is one of the leading ones out there, I think, that allows customers to do this. And I'm sure that you guys have developed a lot of the functionality over time, over the last 5 years, while listening to customers and what they need. But what are you finding that is one of the most common things that your customers want, or the reason they come to BoxCast?
Yeah, a lot of our customers come to BoxCast for ease of use. They want to be able to stream their content and do so in multiple locations. So beyond their own website and own that content. Sometimes they want to be able to go to Facebook. Sometimes they want to be able to go to YouTube. They want that flexibility, but they also want that ownership. So that's what we see probably as the primary reason. But there's a number of others. One of those is automation. We allow people to kind of automate their live streams, which is really great for people that have regular recurring events, like a house of worship service or something like that.
What do you mean by automation? Like, tell me, because that definitely sounds easy to use, right? If I could just automate my life, I could just click a button, boom, everything's done for me. What do you mean by automation when it comes to automating your live events and live streaming?
Right. So with BoxCast, you always will schedule a live event. So say you have a sports game that starts at 7:30, and most of our clients are organizations, so they plan their events and they're streaming events that already exist. They have a start time and a stop time. So you'll schedule that on the BoxCast platform, and then when you're ready to go live, that event will just start immediately if you're using our own hardware. Or if you're using something like Wirecast, you'll then push it from Wirecast to BoxCast at that time.
Got it. And so you actually have hardware encoders that they can hook up to their Wirecast system or to any camera or whatever that automatically connects and sends the stream to scheduled events. And there's really nothing the user has to do to sort of, other than make sure the power's on and there's a signal going into it. Is there anything else that they need to do?
No, it'll just go live just like that. So if you use the HDMI output from Wirecast, you can output that into our BoxCaster or our BoxCaster Pro. That's one way to do it. Or you can stream over RTMP. Either one of those is a great way to have the two work together. And they will go live right at the scheduled time, and you don't have to hit the button or forget to do something like that. Because we know oftentimes, especially people that are new to streaming, they aren't used to or it's a volunteer running it at an organization, and they're not used to all the details and the technical work that goes in there. And we want to help strip that away and make it super simple for folks to still produce a really professional, good-looking live event.
That's great. So I want to get a little bit more in depth on that. I know we have you prepared a number of sort of visual aids that we can have, as well as a list of the pros and cons of social streaming. But before we get into that, I'd love to learn a little bit about you personally. How did you become to BoxCast, and how did you start as a product manager? What did you do before that, and sort of what's your background?
Yeah, so I came to BoxCast as a designer. I worked a lot on, when I first started with the company, worked a lot on the development of our more advanced hardware encoder called the BoxCaster Pro. It's an HEVC encoder. And through that process, kind of learned what it looked like to build a product. And then was able to step into a product manager role here. And so what I do is I listen to our customers' needs, like you said, and really try to take those into heart, understand how we can solve those problems for the customers, and then work with our development team and the really talented product team we have here to bring those ideas to life. And then once they are created, I will help our customers or our support team or our sales and marketing teams to understand what those features are and how they can benefit broadcasters.
That's really cool. So is that something that was, what do you find most challenging to do as the product manager? What are the parts of the job either that you didn't expect or didn't think would be quite as difficult, or things that you did expect and ended up totally fulfilling your expectations?
I would say the most difficult thing, but also the most rewarding thing, is the prioritization of different features. So we get hundreds of customer requests, different ideas that people have, and they're all really great. There's no denying that all of them would make someone's life better, but we also have finite resources. We don't want to overcomplicate the product and make it really confusing with 1,000 different buttons to do just about everything. So, simplifying it down and understanding what those features that are going to deliver the most benefit to our customers, that I would say is probably the most difficult thing. But then on the flip side, the most rewarding, when we do get something and we hear back from customers that, wow, that made my life so much easier. Thank you so much. It really makes it worth it then.
That's cool. Yeah, I think we find a similar thing. Anytime you're developing a product, that prioritization, you have a list as long, a mile long of features you'd love to get in
Absolutely.
there, and you can't do them all. Another one that I find really interesting, maybe you can talk to this one, is that some features just boil down to, or at least the implementation of them boil down to preference. So some people may prefer to have, say, oh, it will be such a better product and so much easier to use if this button was on the left, not on the right. And then, you know, other people say, no, 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 it's way better on the right than it is on the left. It's almost like just the UI design or things like that. The feature itself, or how you design ease of use, or how you define ease of use, can be a little subjective from one person to another. So do you find that? Are there certain ones that, you know, your team, you know, you guys divide on what is a better way to implement something, and you don't necessarily agree on whether or not it's improved the product or not, relative to whose opinion you're listening to?
Yeah, I think one of the places that we struggle with that most, and it's difficult to handle, is that we're serving both people that have never live streamed before, and then people that are really experienced live streamers. And those two groups have different expectations and different desires. One wants to look at a lot of information. They want to go in depth. They know what all the technical jargon means. And the other has no idea. They just want to get their content out to the world. And so being able to balance those two. So recently we built a feature called Stream Diagnostics that helps you look in depth as to what's going on with your broadcast. And at the highest level, it gives you just everything is good. You know, your bandwidth is great. You're able to stream, and then it allows you then to click one level down and see really the detailed graphs that show you over time. This is where you might have had packet loss, or this is what your bit rate looks like as it charts over time. So the advanced user can dig in deep, but the first time user really only sees that high level, everything's good or things are not good, and it's much more simple than that for them.
That's cool. Yeah. So, do you think that I think we find it very similar? I mean, very similar is that Wirecast has to straddle both worlds, and being able to be very simple and easy to use at the same time being deep and capable and give you a million different customization options is this really fine balancing act. And it's not an easy one. It's almost like on the surface, you have to make everything look like there's only 3 or 4 buttons you can click. But then if people start clicking on some of those, they can dive in and go deeper and find the settings they're looking for. I don't think that it's an eternal issue that you need to solve in product design and product, development, that you'll never find. There's no perfect answer to it. There's no silver bullet. It's just sort of this eternal sort of journey in the product design. So I guess in that sense, the work never really ends.
No, sure doesn't.
So let's talk a little bit about the sort of the way BoxCast works. So you gave a good overview of it. Let's show kind of a diagram that you put together. I think looks really good and
great.
Kind of explains how this works a little bit. So maybe a visual will clue us in. So Deborah, if you want to throw that up, there you go. So yeah, you want to cover this diagram a little bit, John, and just talk a little bit about it?
So when you're streaming from Wirecast, you can either stream to BoxCast via RTMP, and that will go up to the BoxCast platform. For those of you who are more technical, that's where we will then transcode the video, and then from there, stream it on to a BoxCast embedded player on your website is kind of the primary destination. You also might want to stream that to the BoxCast app on Apple TV or Roku devices. Or you can stream it out to Facebook Live, YouTube, Periscope, or any other custom RTMP destination that you might have. So that's kind of the how it works from a flow perspective. When I talked about that automation before, you really take advantage of that. You would add a BoxCaster or hardware encoder in between Wirecast and BoxCast, and that would allow you to take advantage of that.
That's really cool. So the sort of once it gets to BoxCast, you have a lot of options for you. Now, how do you guys sort of like, what do you find is the typical latency by the time something gets from Wirecast through BoxCast and say to the Roku or the Apple TV? Like, how much additional latency are you guys adding? Is it a significant amount, or is it under a second?
It is a significant amount, so it's definitely not for any kind of two-way communication or things like that. Certainly much more for people that are just trying to get their content out there.
Okay.
And we really try to focus on quality, I guess, a lot more, and making sure that all of the packets have been delivered, all of the video is there, as opposed to just speed.
That's a good point. Yeah, because people sometimes don't necessarily, they want to just make sure it looks good and sounds good by the time it gets to where it needs to go. And that is a huge priority. I think a lot of Wirecast customers themselves have a very high bar for what looks and sounds good. So, yeah, I think it's really cool to hear that you guys are very concerned about that. Okay, so if you guys have specific questions about a sort of a BoxCast stream, it looks like Rob has posted a Munzing Media basketball stream here, and I think it's probably, he's mentioning that may or may not, yeah, he said he went to, this is from in the Facebook comments if you guys want to check this out, but we went to Facebook and embedded our site in our site and sent to BoxCast. Then today we downloaded the clip and sent it to the coach for the team to break down today. So they were able to send from Wirecast to BoxCast. From there, they could embed the BoxCast stream directly in their website, which is really nice, no Facebook branding. And they were still able to stream out to Facebook for people who like to watch there. And then, as if that wasn't enough, they could download the stored clip from the BoxCast site and then send that off to the coach. So does that sort of summarize a little bit of what you guys are going for in terms of the full service?
Absolutely, yeah. So it also, we will archive all of your streamed content immediately. I also remember, I think I saw that link he is referring to earlier today, and they had also used our highlight feature to clip a highlight. So you've got kind of possibilities built on top of that that are much more than just the video distribution. Obviously that's the core thing, is getting your content out, but there's a lot more that you can do with it after the fact as well.
That's cool. And how do you charge, or kind of like what are the tiers of the way you guys work? I mean, I assume there's not unlimited storage, there's not unlimited restreaming to multiple destinations.
Yeah. So it is actually unlimited streaming. We don't do any kind of metered plans. So all of our plans include unlimited streaming. And we have 3 plan levels. You can see them on our website. And those start at $99 and go up to $299. And they have varying feature sets and kind of delineations between them.
Okay, I'm going to pull that up here on the page, on my screen here. Maybe I can pull this up real fast. And then it looks like you have sports streaming, church streaming. I mean, is there any feature sets that you differentiate between for different types of streaming, or is one size fits all for whatever kind of streaming you're doing?
We do not differentiate by market. Yes, if you go to the pricing page, you'll see that information on the pricing. But we differentiate based on features like storage. So our advanced plan includes a year of storage, while the standard only includes 30 days of free storage.
Okay, so whatever you stream, unlimited streaming, unlimited storage, but it's for a year's worth of content, and then after a year, you'll start deleting what's on there, so people need to download it and back it up somewhere else.
That, or they pay us for storage on top of that. So we will continue to store it if you want to host it, and we can kind of be your video host as well. You can upload content to BoxCast. There's a lot of different possibilities for you.
Okay, so you will pay something for this. This is obviously not free, but maybe this is a good time to talk a little bit about the advantages and disadvantages of, say, a BoxCast, a dedicated provider like you guys, to a social site like YouTube or Facebook. I mean, a lot of Wirecast users love Wirecast because they can stream to Facebook, they can stream to YouTube and Periscope and do that for free. And those will also record their streams and don't cap them or anything like that. So there's a lot of great things that people can get without really paying any money through the large streaming sites. But there's very good reasons why you may or may not want to continue to do that. So maybe this would be a good time to get into that. So let's start with the advantages. So the advantages of social streaming. By social streaming, do you want to talk a little bit about what you mean by that?
Yeah, really what we mean when we talk about social streaming, that's streaming to Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch. Those are probably the top 4 destinations for social streaming. But there are any number of other social media platforms that do support live streaming as well.
Okay. And the advantages of those sites.
Right. So one of them is that you can reach a large audience. So your audience is probably already built on Facebook or YouTube, especially for many of the organizations that we work with. They've had Facebook pages for a really long time. If they're a house of worship or something like that. And it allows them to engage with those people really, really well. So you can get a lot of people, they can share it with their friends, and you can find that audience really fast. And that's a great feature of streaming to social sites. The second advantage is discoverability. Part of why you probably share your content is so other people can find it that may, not have been received your marketing email or have been directly looking for it. So when it shows up on their timeline or their friend's timeline, that's a really, really great way to be discovered.
So the sort of the viral nature of the network and the built-in relationships that are already existing, that's a huge way. Do you think that, I also I think the search engine aspect of YouTube's huge, and that's been a big one that a lot of people have pointed out, that long tail content. It's really a great place for people to find you. And then those algorithms will populate and recommend your content to other people that are watching similar types of things. So that's all really fantastic. There's a number, there's really 3 more that you were pointing out here. So yeah, let's go over those.
So the next one is that there's a low barrier to entry. It is so easy to get started streaming on somewhere like Facebook or YouTube. And we really encourage people that if they are new to streaming, try it out first. Get on Facebook. You can just pop open your phone, open their app, and go live. Or you can even set up equipment, have a free trial of Wirecast or something like that, and go live there. But you really don't have to learn anything new. You don't have to buy a lot of equipment. And that can be really powerful for just proving out if live streaming is something that you want to do if you've never done it before.
Got it. And do you think that I'm not sure if you guys have built any engagement tools on BoxCast, but obviously engagement is a big piece of the social piece of this social streaming. Just looking at the chats and, Rob posting his experiences and Sam here pointing out, and actually Sam, we'll get your question there in just a second. But that engagement piece is huge. Have you guys added, a chat on the embedded player?
On our embedded player right now. So that's another advantage the social channels have. And even with other chats on other sites, people may not trust them because they don't have a profile there already, as opposed to Facebook where they already have a profile set up. YouTube, they have a Google account, they have a YouTube account. And so it can become really easy. Chats can be dangerous though. It's kind of a double-edged sword. It's great if you want engagement, but it's not so great if you don't want engagement, or you definitely do have to monitor those chats, and that's just another thing for you to have to do during a live event. And you may have more things going on if you're a small team, or you just don't want to worry about what people are saying about you on chat.
Got it. So, all right, final one. This is the final advantage. It's the big one, right? It's free in the sense that if you, you're paying for it somehow. You're paying for it through their ads and their branding and all that.
Talk about that.
So go ahead.
Who doesn't love that, when things are free? And so it's a great place to start. Like we said, we encourage everyone to do that if they are just getting started streaming. And obviously it's, you get they provide a lot for free, and that's incredible.
Okay, So I think that is a big deal. And I want to get into the so those are some clear advantages of the social streaming piece of it. But, you listed a bunch of them. And I think if you guys have other advantages that you see to streaming to these other destinations, please type them in the chat. I'm actually going to experiment here. I'm going to try to throw up a title here on the output. So I want to, Deborah Lee, we'll see if this works. I don't know. I'm just going to see if I can grab some of these comments and actually throw them on the screen. But Deborah Lee, I've put a new NDI source on the network from my computer. So if you can see it as like the Mac Pro or whatever in the web studio, there might be a Tyler Live source that is on the network. It might have the comments on it. So we're just gonna, I was doing that a little bit in the background to see if we can do that. But otherwise, if we can't get them on the screen, at least we will mention them, bring them up. So the first question that one of the viewers is asking is from Sam, and he's wondering, can you use OBS and go to BoxCast without buying Wirecast, I guess would be one of them. So, oh, you're showing my screen, but I'm actually hopefully pushing out this title right here out to you via NDI. So if you can't find it, let me know, but that's okay. So yeah, I assume that any RTMP encoder works with BoxCast. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep. We will accept any RTMP stream. We do not have integrations, with all encoders or all encoding software. Mm-hmm. So Wirecast is one of the ones that we make it really easy and have preset profiles, and so there's an advantage there with someone like Wirecast that we've built an integration with.
Hey, there it went. Nice. You found it. Good job. Okay, so that's one obvious thing that I think is a big deal. Now, the other question one of the viewers had, and I'll see if I can throw it up in just a second, they're wondering about competitors. So something like Restream.io. What differentiates you guys from, say, Restream.io, which is another popular restreaming service?
Yeah. I think it's that we're not just live stream or not just restreaming. We have our own player, and that player has a lot of capabilities, things that you can customize on it, and so that's that's certainly one advantage. The other differentiator from someone like Restream is we do provide live support, and that's one of the biggest things that our customers love, and we'll talk about. That's a difference with a social channel as well. You can't call up a social channel, but you can always call up BoxCast, and we're here to help you out.
Cool. Okay, so that I was able to display the question there. You can do Restream in a bunch of places for $129. I would totally agree with you, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about your statistics and your sort of output monitoring. Like, that's a pretty big deal as well, right? So if you can talk a little bit about the design of that, how it works, what are the types of, I'm sure that's a really difficult feature to do well.
Right. So one of the advantages of BoxCast is that we're controlling the live streaming ecosystem end to end. So as soon as you stream to us with your source, you're able to see exactly what's going on with it all the way through to the destination. You're able to see how many viewers you have on the various on the player, but also their engagement time, things like that. But then also from a monitoring and quality point of view, we'll show you exactly what your packet and delivery looks like, what your bit rate is over time, how your frame rate's holding, so that it gives you those troubleshooting options if you potentially run into any issues.
Cool. Yeah, so this might be a good segue into your disadvantages list, which would naturally lead to what are the advantages that you're trying to offer through BoxCast. I'm assuming that's the unspoken thing. So let's throw up the disadvantages list here. And I assume you have a counter for that, a feature-to-feature counter, basically, for all of those.
So advertising is a huge one, right? When you said, you're paying for free in some way, they are making money off of your content. And that is what Facebook and YouTube do when they have monetization options, but you're getting a much smaller cut of that. And so, that can be really frustrating for people. And so, like, if you do want to control your content, you've lost that once you stream it to a Facebook or a YouTube. That's something you're sacrificing to reach a larger audience.
That's very important. So advertising, being able to get off there. Now, okay, so I was going to ask about copyright. So you have it there on the list there. But let's go, before we get to copyright issues, having control over your content. Those are all related, right? So let's talk about lack of control over the viewer experience. What are the types of controls you can offer in BoxCast versus can't offer inside of a YouTube or a Facebook?
Right. So, you know, one of the things we talked about in the advantages was the discoverability. It's really easy for people to find your video. That also means it's really easy for them to find other people's videos and get distracted and leave and stop watching what you have. So those platforms are very distracting. So you can't control exactly what they're seeing. And so we love to empower people to own their brand. You know, when it's on your website, that is kind of the digital equivalent of your front doors or the building that you have. So for a house of worship, you know, if you were to walk into a church, going to their website is the kind of digital equivalent of that. Versus Facebook is kind of like walking through a mall, and there's lots of things to look at, and they're just one of the shops.
Right.
So you really can kind of get focus and dedication there, which is really nice when you're not streaming to a social channel.
That's a good point. Being able to sort of customize the entire sort of viewer experience and isolate it on your site or your channel. That's something we've actually been thinking about doing a lot here in the Wirecast live show. We've never actually posted this show live anywhere on the Telestream site. So it's something we've talked about, something we wanted to do for some time, but it's just, it's always, because this is not the first thing we do in our day jobs. This is something that is a fun show that we try to do week to week and try to make, you know, valuable. And it's a great way to stay in touch with our users and bring on guests like yourself to learn a lot about this industry and this whole environment. But it does take a little work to customize the experience and get it off the social channels to a separate site. And then furthermore, you have to lead your audience over there and kind of get them to show up and watch the show on that page. Do you have any tips around doing that? Do you have BoxCast users who, you know, find that they just totally don't do social streaming at all? They just use BoxCast as the sole method and the embedding through the BoxCast player?
Yeah, we have a lot of people who do that. One of the ways that they do it is making sure that site location is consistent. So whether that's wirecast.com/live. So /live is a very common website that we see it. And then, you know, that's where every single game for a sports team is going to be. So that people will bookmark that, they'll know where that's going to go. And then with the scheduling feature we talked about before, you can plan your events ahead of time, which means you can also promote them ahead of time. So you have that dedicated page for it. You're able to share that out on your social channels, and that's going to link people back to your website. So you still have that same sharing potential and while controlling your video content on your site.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And knowing where to find it. Okay, so I have a few other folks that are doing some great chats. And if you're just joining us, we are talking with John Wetzel, the product manager over at BoxCast. We just announced the integration between Wirecast and BoxCast. So you can find, if you are a BoxCast user or you're thinking about being one, you can find BoxCast inside Wirecast right next to all the other destinations that we already have in there, like YouTube and Facebook. And John's been pointing out the advantages of using something like BoxCast over or in concurrence with the advantages of some streaming to Facebook and YouTube and the rest of them. So let's show that actually, John. If you have a second, I actually want to show folks where that new integration happens and how it works. So I'll load up on my desktop here, Wirecast. And I just downloaded the latest version, so it's and just installed it. So give me a second. While we're doing that, let's take a couple questions from the audience. And if you guys have specific comments or questions, I noticed Rob actually has a lot of good things to say about it. I think that makes a lot of sense. He's a dedicated streaming service provider. So if you go out and you hire yourself out, and I see Amanda is in the crowd. If you're still there, Amanda, hi. Folks like Amanda, folks like Rob, they hire themselves out and produce live content and live videos for sports organizations or companies or marketing, and they it's really important that they have a back end like a BoxCast where their content can be streamed and they can have complete control over the video stream. Do you see that many BoxCast users are in a similar boat? They may not in and of themselves be the brand. I mean, in a way they need to market their services, but most of the content that they're putting out there is as a service provider for others.
We definitely do see a lot of BoxCast customers who are doing that, where they're going on site and streaming events for people, and we can support that. And we, especially for those people, your setup's always flexible. You're on the go. You may have different internet connections, so being able to have both a support team to help you out and make sure everything is good is a really important thing for them.
Yeah, I could see that as being critical for me. You can't call up Facebook or YouTube, right? You can call up your BoxCast provider, make sure the stream's working. Great. So
exactly.
Here we go. We got Amanda in the house. Hey, good to see you, Amanda. And we have another great question from folks here on so this is a great one from actually you guys. So I'm actually I think you guys are chatting in the background here, but this is about the Roku question. Roku and Apple TV questions. So that was actually your answer. I put that up a little early. I'm going to post this. So you guys set up the Apple TV and Roku pages for you, for your customers. Is that just part of the service?
So part of the package is that you get a channel on the BoxCast app. So you will not get your own dedicated Roku or Apple TV channel, but you will get you will be able to watch your streams on those devices. But you'll go into the BoxCast app, and then you'll find, your high school's channel or whatever your organization is that you're showing, and then that's where it would show up.
Next question here is, does BoxCast have a paywall option?
Yes. So that's actually one of the advantage or disadvantages points is that there's not a great monetization option through YouTube or through Facebook. So we allow people to buy tickets to your broadcast, and we provide the support for those people who are buying tickets. So if they have issues with the stream or issues with the ticket processing, they can contact us, and we will relieve that for you. So we completely take that off of your back. And we just mail you a check for that. So this weekend, actually, I think today is the state championship football game here in Ohio, and we're streaming that one. And in the semifinal game, they sold over 150 tickets to that event.
Wow.
Which is a really, really great thing for the school.
That's really cool. So what are you guys... can I ask how quick you are to turn around that payment processing for folks and just get them their check? Is it within a week or two?
It is usually we let them accumulate, and then we pay back in a quarterly basis.
Got it. Okay, so another big question we have here from a couple users. So as Greg Kuhner calls it, the biggest question, how do you deal with the Facebook API restrictions? I'm assuming you deal with them the same way we do in Wirecast.
That's right. So you have to follow the rules that Facebook puts in place, which are that you cannot stream to both Facebook and another social channel at the same time. So you cannot stream to both Facebook and YouTube at the same time.
Yeah. Now, do you guys, so the way we distinguish it is a little bit differently. You can stream to them the same time. You cannot be signed in and use the APIs at the same time. So the way we were told and the way it's explained to us is that the Facebook does not want you using their API while also allowing your users to use a competitor's API and take advantage of all the tools they're giving you. They never said anything about simulcasting specifically. Mostly it was about the API usage.
Yeah, so very confusing issue, but like I said, we do offer a RTMP output option. So one of your simulcasting destinations can be any RTMP destination.
Yeah,
it's not up to us on what that is. You're free to take advantage of it as you will.
There you go. That's a very, very diplomatic answer. Okay, so let's look at the integration here. I have Wirecast open, a new document, and I just want to show you guys real fast where you can find this new integration. It's exactly where you'd expect it, right under the output menu. And if you're choosing or setting up your destinations, again, as we mentioned, that RTMP destination, so important to be able to send and simulcast where you need to. But there it is, BoxCast right under the B's. And you would just log in with your username and select the encoding setting that works for you. And then once it's streaming to BoxCast, of course, you'd go to the website, I assume, John, and sort of manage whatever you wanted to do with it from that point, whether it was to Roku or Apple TV or recording. Do you do auto record? Do folks have to automatically, or is it, I mean, do they have to check any boxes?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Nope. Automatically records and is ready for them then.
Nice. And do you have a clipping or highlighting or markers, anything that people can lay down?
Yeah, so we do have a highlight feature. So that allows them to, during the live event or afterwards, to clip out highlights. And because if you're using the BoxCast embedded player, it'll also then show those highlights next to the video as kind of its own video, like its own highlight clip or video, and you can share those on social or do things like that.
One other thing I feel I should mention here is if you are using Wirecast and BoxCast, there's a free trial, right? I think, Rob, that's what he took advantage of this week. There's free trial of both, actually. So now that Wirecast has a 30-day free trial, BoxCast has a free trial. There's nothing to stop anybody from testing this out. How long is your free trial?
I believe it goes 30 days. It's something that's actually pretty new for us. So
cool. Us as well.
You know, yeah.
So 30 days of BoxCast and Wirecast. Will you set up the Roku channels and Apple channel or Apple TV channels in your app within those 30 days?
You should be able to set those up. So that's actually all user controlled, and it'll automatically populate within the app.
Awesome. So I should mention, if you are going to try this, you want to go try the free trial of either the software or BoxCast. If you are sending to BoxCast through Wirecast, we did notice that you may want to take advantage of the ability to set or save your custom presets. So if you test these in particular, they've kind of already been set by you guys, and I think you guys may take a look and decide whether or not you want to change anything that's already there, but you could always come in and view a preset and sort of copy this and adjust it as you need. These should be optimal, but we did find that Rob may have been using, for example, an interlace source, and that he actually needed to come in and change his profile from high to baseline. So once you do that, if everything looks good, you don't have to change anything. But if you do need to get into the settings inside Wirecast and just create your own, like baseline setting, you can do that inside of Wirecast. So just be aware of that. We did notice that there's possibly some interlace sources may need a different setting. So there it is. Then I've got my custom right there inside Wirecast. So don't forget that you don't have to necessarily go with the defaults there. You can tweak them as needed, right? So let's finish out with the last of your advantages and disadvantages, and then we'll close out for the day on the show. So go ahead.
Yeah, so we touched on it briefly, but I think really one of the biggest ones for us is the lack of a support team from any of the social channels. You can't reach out to them and really engage with them at all. But with us, we have an awesome support team in-house. I sit really close to them in our office. And a lot of the times they're not necessarily answering questions just about the BoxCast software, but just giving you advice on your entire streaming setup. And we know that live streaming can be really complex, and all sorts of weird, odd things happen when you mix an internet connection and video and try to make it happen. And so they're there to help you dive in and fix anything that may arise. So that's one of the things that I love about what we do versus a social channel. And at very least, it's an assurance that you can feel confident and feel much better about going live, which can often be nerve-wracking.
Totally. Yeah. So I mean, I think that it's something that you only get better at the more you do, but having these tools can, I think, make you feel a little more confident. There's definitely a few other questions here that I think I should get in here. So this is a quick one. Does BoxCast have a reseller program?
We do. We do have a distribution program, so you can resell our program through One Source Video, who is our distributor.
Okay, One Source Video, and I'm sure we'll put up your contact information, so if people have questions about
absolutely,
that,
reach out to me.
Okay,
and give you the right people there.
Here's another product question: Are BoxCast players castable? So can they send to Chromecast TVs?
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, right now we do not have a Chromecast plugin built in, so they are not currently.
Okay,
it's on my long list.
It's your mile-long list of things you'd like to do.
Exactly.
And actually, on that note, simpler question: Dr. Alan Weinstein is asking, what does he need in order to just stream to his own site? So this is a common question that I think a lot of customers will ask. How do I stream to my website? I have a website. I want to get my video on my website live. And I think the really simple answer is you stream to BoxCast, and then you grab the embed code for the player, and you embed it on whatever page you want.
Right within the BoxCast dashboard, we have an embed code, and that embed code can be for your entire channel. It can be for separate channels you create, which are kind of like playlists on YouTube, or it can be for individual videos, and you can embed those right onto your website.
Cool. And I see, actually, here you go, as far as the reseller question, we had a great answer from you guys here. So there awesome. You go. You can email at sales@boxcast.com if you want to get hooked up as a reseller. Some of our viewers here are definitely have their own businesses and do resell either Wirecast or some of the products. So they're always on the hunt for good additional offerings for their customers. Here's a good one. Does BoxCast support DV cameras? Wirecast does not. So mini DV or HDV, I'm assuming he's referring to the dropout of our HDV FireWire plugin for older HDV cameras from 10 years ago or so. Do you guys have I think the equivalent question would be, do you have encoders that are composite or RCA?
Yeah, so the BoxCaster, our HDSE2, actually does have a composite input. So it has an HDMI, but then it has the composite input and RCA input. So you certainly could do that with our BoxCaster. I'm not as familiar with DV cameras, so I can't speak to those in particular. But if they do have a composite output, we certainly can take that.
Cool. Okay, well, let's put up, if people have questions or where they can reach you, I think we should throw that up there. If there's, you want to reach out to John about, any things that you saw on the show, or you have other additional questions for him, these are all great places.
And you can also, tweet at us or reach out to us on any of those channels. We're friendly. There's a person behind all of those accounts, so just shoot it a message, and you definitely will get a nice response back.
Cool. And do you have other content or stuff you guys are putting out on a regular basis? Any live videos or shows or tutorials or blogs?
Absolutely. I would definitely really encourage everyone to check out our YouTube channel. We put out what we call BoxCast Tech Tips, and those are just general video advice, everything from what is aperture at the beginning level to the best things for a beginner to start live streaming, to how to bring audio into a cell phone to stream from that. And so, we've got a really great YouTube page that has a lot of good content that Josh, who's probably your counterpart, Andrew, here at BoxCast, puts out for us. Fantastic.
All right, looks cool. And there you can see the little handy BoxCast encoder, which has the composite plus the HDMI in. I love that little encoder. So that's what you would use if you have just a single camera source, or that has that RCA output and it's super old and you just need to stream what's from there, or maybe you have an old switcher, or you're trying to output the HDMI from, say, Wirecast or one of your switchers there. You could actually just stream directly. How many different encoding settings does this guy have? Does it just have one automatic setting, or do you have a few different profiles people can select from?
So we do have different manual profiles. I would say about 95% of our customers just let our automatic settings look at that. So we will look at what that video input is, what signal we're getting, automatically configure all those settings, and that's part of that kind of automation that we talked about before, is that sort of idea.
Really cool. All right. Well, any last questions from the audience before we let you go? I just want to double check to make sure there's nothing I missed here. Looks like we are in good shape. I think we answered most of the questions that people had. So, John, I really want to say thanks for coming on the show today. This was a great talk. You gave a really good overview of what differentiates you from just streaming to, say, Facebook or YouTube, and even what you guys are trying to do to complement the advantages of a social stream versus a dedicated provider like you guys. So appreciate that. If you guys are curious, check out boxcast.com. Go to and sign up for a free trial and try it out. Anything else you want to say before you sign off?
No, I just want to say thank you, and it's been great. I'm excited to see more people using Wirecast with BoxCast. It's a really powerful combination for broadcasters.
As are we. Thank you so much, John. We'll have you on again soon, and I appreciate your time.
All right.
So that was John Wetzel from the BoxCast team, and he is a really nice guy. You can see he really cares passionately about the product that they're putting out and the service there. A lot of you guys had some really good questions. I hope we got those answered. I was glad we were able to fire up the NDI titles there on the comments. So Deborah Lee, thanks for throwing that in there. I think that we will try to do that most shows. It's a little tricky because we need to grab the URLs like right as we're going live, and I don't know. Sometimes it's a little tricky, but I think we'll try to keep doing that. And if I have some time, I may even mess with the default template there, because I always just use the sort of the basic Tyler Live white template, but it worked pretty well. So if you like that, give us a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, next week we will be back on Thursday, same time, 2:30 p.m. Pacific time, and we will confirm if we're having Dave from Iographer on here or if it'll be another guest. So stay tuned for that. I do want to get a little wrap up from, say, our WFX show, maybe from PTZ Optics or the team here. We had a giveaway for churches out there for a live broadcast, like over $10,000 of live streaming equipment. So I think that was really cool. Maybe we can play a clip from that giveaway show. And I want to say thank you guys. Don't forget, you can sign up at telestream.net/wirecastlive if you want to see what the last 3 episodes of the season are going to be. We'll keep you posted. And if we don't see you next week or the week after, then have a happy new year and happy holidays. Thanks to all of our partners who help us make this show possible. And thanks to you, our viewers, for tuning in and making us have a reason to be here. So we'll see you next week, and keep streaming.